welcome to another edition of the Throwing Bagels Podcast. We are now in October 1st, when the podcast hits the internet, and time to turn the page, right? Talk some hockey. Enough of this baseball stuff.
Baseball season's over.
Let's not talk about that ever again. Okay. We'll not talk about that.
No one cares about baseball.
Did I miss something?
Okay. Yeah. No, nothing, Chris. Really,
Good.
nothing.
All right. Good.
Good stress-free weekend.
Nice.
For everyone. So,
Of course. Yeah.
Kevin Mooney here with you alongside Jason Hamo, Chris Douglas. Hey, guys.
Hello there.
Hello.
Oh boy.
We'll get to that. We'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
My stress levels have gone down a little bit. It's a good thing I didn't have a stress test yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I know. I mean, Liverpool losing over the weekend. I couldn't believe it either.
That was hard. Yeah, that was tough.
Tough. Real tough.
Yeah. I feel for
So October, it's hockey time, guys. Would you agree? Hockey time?
Yeah,
That's
it's right
it.
around the corner.
Yeah.
Man.
Sure.
Maybe a dash of football here and there, a dash of our football, a dash of Chris's football.
That's
His
right.
football, and hockey. And I think there are a few guests who could better speak to hockey than our next one on the podcast, and it's our pleasure to welcome back to the program the head coach of the SUNY Oswego women's ice hockey team. It's Mark Digby. Hey, coach.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on again. I appreciate it.
Oh, it feels like it was yesterday that we talked to you to wrap up last season. So it's amazing that you're back already. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was a fast summer. It felt like it flew right by, and yeah, now the leaves are starting to turn, and we're ready to roll again.
Here we go. So I mean, coach, the team's coming off its best season in program history, going 22-3-2 overall, 15-1-2 in the SUNYAC. What are your thoughts on this upcoming season, which gets underway in just a few weeks?
We had a lot of question marks, I would say, coming into the year. I'd probably put the question marks in italics though, because it could be pretty exciting. With the 12 that we graduated last year, they obviously did such a great job of forming the foundation of our program. But by doing that, they also allowed us access to some pretty high level recruits to come in and hopefully carry the torch from where they left off instead of having to kind of start over. So, so far it's been really fun. Such a different energy when you have, 7 sophomores and 12 freshmen versus having, 12 seniors like we had last year. It's just a much different feel around the team right now, and so many players experiencing college life and college hockey for the first time. So yeah, we're excited to see what it all looks like once we get on the ice.
Well, you mentioned, the recruiting, have the senior class leaving that impact on recruiting. So have you seen a demonstrable level of interest or increase in interest in potential, students joining the Lakers?
Yeah, we have. And I mean, it really started probably last summer. I think
Okay.
is right around like right before we left for the Europe trip. That was when a lot of this current freshman class, they were starting to come on visits shortly thereafter. So having a lot of conversations with them around that time, which is pretty typical of when our players, they want to commit to go to school and pick programs and all that stuff. So just them getting introduced to our seniors at that time and learning about where the program was, where we are now, the path that we took to get there. And I think when a lot of players learn about the sacrifice and the story that goes behind who we are, they fortunately chose to want to be a part of that. And it's nice because now not, we got some great players, but they're really good kids that came in this year too. And yeah, they've certainly made it exciting to be around the rink so far this year.
So you mentioned the 12 freshmen that are incoming. What can fans expect from some of those players this year?
Yeah, well, the goalies, we're still trying to figure that out, right? Anytime you have 2 freshman goalies, it's going to be every day in practice is going to be really exciting. When you've got that consistent competition, but also like the 3 of them are really close and they've built a really tight friendship already. They cheer and scream and yell and support each other on the ice at practice. So that's been really fun to watch that develop. And well, I think hopefully anyway, what we lack in experience will make up for in excitement. And I don't know, defensively, that's always tough when you've got a young team. How are you going to play defensively? Can you understand kind of the finer details and habits that you have to be successful? But hopefully we can pick that up, as quickly as possible. But hopefully the scoring can remain, consistent from last season, and we can find a way to put enough pucks in the net to outscore some of the mistakes that we're going to make early on in the year.
So you mentioned the goalie situation, of course, losing Lexi Levy, who was just had a phenomenal year. I mean, there's two freshmen, as you mentioned. There's also a sophomore returning in Mia DeVivo. So do all three of them? You're basically thinking like it's equal opportunity for everyone at this point.
At this point, I would say it's equal opportunity, but I guess the fun story or plot twist that we'd have at this point is that we actually have Lexi joining our coaching staff as a goalie coach.
Cool.
And,
Nice.
I think last year, not many people realize, but not only was she playing on our team, but she was coaching our women's club team. She was like I don't know if on paper she was their head coach, but she basically coached their team last year. And like on Sundays, even if the team was playing somewhere else, she would drive to where they were to help them and kind of do their part. So while she's got a little bit of schooling left to complete her master's, and so while she's doing that, she's actually going to join our staff and help us out with the goalies. So that's a huge add to our program. Just not only her ability, but someone that can really take time to focus on the goalies and, really give them the help that they need on a day-to-day basis. And she's very gung-ho about it, which has been awesome. And it's like every down second of practice, she's got something there for them to do. And they really have appreciated that. And I think even the development that we've seen out of the three of them in what it's been 2 weeks now that we've been able to practice with them a couple times. Yeah, I think we've been on the ice 4 times, and so in those 4 sessions, just watching how little habits they're able to pick up on or things that she brings up to them immediately that either before would never be seen or would be brought up in pieces. Now we're able to have that immediate feedback for them. So hopefully that helps kind of catch them up to speed pretty quickly here too.
Is she in full pads when she's out there, or is she?
Not yet. I think she'd like to be. She certainly misses it, and she's certainly competitive enough to want to do it. But no, it just goes out there, and for being a goalie her whole life, she's got quite a shot. So, I think maybe in her next life she'll be a defenseman or something playing beer league hockey somewhere.
Who do you expect to take the reins from her?
I don't really know. I think Mia, I'm hoping that some of the experiences that she saw last year, and just understanding the emotions that go into college hockey, hopefully that gives her a little bit of the upper hand. Partly just, she was very patient last year. Um, she took in everything that she could from Lexi. And, it would be a nice story to at least see her step in and have some success, at least early on. Um, and then the two young goalies there, Erica Finney out of Calgary Fire, so the same team that Meg Smith came in from the year before. And then Ava Christensen, who's a Chicago area kid, played for Florida Alliance last year. I think they're both goalies that they both have their days where you're like, wow, like they can do it, and so I think it'll just be getting them to where they can perform consistently, to what it is that unfortunately or fortunately, I guess, we've kind of become accustomed to, with Lexi. So that's yeah, we're still throwing that task at Lexi and you know have hopefully have them going here pretty quick once we get started for real.
So you ended up number 8 last year in the polls at the end of the season. Going into this year, your team is going to be playing last year's final number 2 in Amherst in January. How large of a test will this be for your team?
Yeah, I think that one will be a really good one. Obviously, this past season, we weren't very happy with the way that we performed, in that game. That was probably a game that really ended our season. So I think going into that environment on the road. It's a hard place to play. But I think for the identity that we want to have as a team, it's more of a good challenge than anything else.
Mhm.
And I think really that's how we tried to set up our schedule for the entire month of January. When you have this many young kids, they're, 18, 19 years old, but they're still most of them, it's their first time being away from home. I mean, it's 50% of our team that's first year college students. And so when all of your friends are spending all of January or most of January home with their families, and you're, a 5 hour flight, a 7 hour flight from home, it can be hard when you're just sitting around the dorm and there's just you yeah, you watch TV and you hang out with the girls. It's fun, but when you go back to your room and it's just you and your roommate, it can be hard. So we tried to set up this January with as many of our longer road trips as possible, just to help with that environment, to help make it fun. We've got some fun little excursions planned along the way. Um, when we head up to the Norwich tournament, getting to see, where Biz Cooley is from, and, kind of stopping by and seeing her family so everybody can play with, her dogs and all that stuff. That'll be fun. We head down to Manhattanville, try to make a trip into the city. Alex O'Brien, one of our freshmen, is from Manhattan. So she's our built-in tour guide now when we go down there. So the girls they're all looking forward to it because most of them have never been. And I think by providing little experiences like that, when you get into those environments where you have to travel to Amherst and play against, I mean, a very, very good team in their building, I think the more experiences that we can have that help bond our team, that make them feel like they have the ownership of everything that we do, I think that just increases our likelihood of being successful. And even if we don't win, if we put ourselves in a position to show that we can compete with the teams at the top end of the country, I think that's probably a win for us, especially with as young as we'll be. We just want to kind of prove to ourselves that we have a chance. And as long as we give ourselves a chance, get into our league playoff, and, we'll at least give ourselves an opportunity to fight for it at the end.
I might have to take a trip up to Rye to watch one or two of those games. I'm not that far away. I did the same
Yeah.
thing last year for the basketball team when they were at Stevens Tech. So I'm gonna have to do the same for you guys.
Oh, very good. Very good.
So this year marks the 20th anniversary since the program relaunched. Are there any plans to on celebrating this season, the milestone season that you guys are having?
Yeah, so we're having a big alumni event the weekend of November 14, 15. It actually corresponds with the men's whiteout game too. So I think we should have quite a few people coming back into town for that. We'll have a big alumni game Saturday morning. And then afterwards, after our game that afternoon against Morrisville, yeah, everybody will get together downtown. Um, the girls don't know yet, but we do have like a special alumni jersey that we're planning on wearing.
Nice.
So that'll be really fun. And I think for the relaunch, and the players that were here in '06, '07, I think it's really nice. But it's been a lot of fun trying to reincorporate a lot of the women who were here back in the initial times of the program. And I think for I'm sure for a lot of reasons, but as the program's relaunched, that was kind of the forgotten group. And I think now it's been great that we've been trying to do everything we can to, make sure that they understand how important they are and getting things off the ground, and the first face of women's hockey here in our community. And it's great now to be able to celebrate 20 years of the relaunch, knowing that the relaunch only happened because of, the efforts that they put in years and
Mhm.
years prior to that.
Can we
So is
can we get
there,
a hint? Oh, sorry.
go ahead, Jason.
I was gonna say, can we get a hint of what that jersey is gonna look like?
They'll be pretty sharp. I think it'll be something that looks somewhat familiar to you guys.
All right.
Ooh.
Being
Hmm.
very secretive right now. I like it.
The girls haven't seen it yet, so I can't give away too
Yeah,
much.
I mean,
I
we're,
Be all
we're
over
kind
you.
of breaking news here a little
I
bit.
know.
So, you gotta. Is there a chance we'll see Linda Cohn come back for any of the alumni celebrations at all?
I don't know. I hope so. I think when a lot of the alumni connection type stuff that we've been doing with the players, especially last year when we had so many seniors, we tried to do a lot of connecting them, um, somewhat for networking purposes, but a lot just of what's life actually going to be like when I'm out of here, and making sure that I mean, we talk a lot about career readiness, at the college level, but I would almost say it's like life readiness when you just get out and, that first fall hits. I think if you were to talk to any one of the 12 of them, they're probably starting to feel it right now. Like they should have been here this morning for fitness testing, right? They should have been here for practice this afternoon. Wait a minute, why am I going to work again today? Like I should be at college. And that's a really tough transition year. And so in kind of the lead up, to the 20th anniversary, we tried to do a really good job of getting our alumni involved and connected, especially with that group, because, their contributions to the program over the last 4 years have been just incredible. And so anything we could do to provide that, and it really set us up with a really good framework that we're working with now, trying to help maintain those relationships with alumni and, making sure that everybody understands the importance that they have if they were, even at one point part of the program.
Has Linda Cohn been involved at all with the program?
Not as of yet. I think there was some contact. Like she was in an article that was published here last year in the Oswego County Business Journal about just some of like the financial impacts of that the women's hockey team was having. And so I think that's kickstarting it. And so, it'd be nice to get her back. Obviously, big, huge name. And the shout outs that she gives to Oswego hockey on Sports Center and stuff's pretty cool for the players to see. So
Will Coach Dylan be part of the 20th season celebration?
I hope so. I keep
Okay.
texting her and everything. So that'll be good. And actually, I mean, the other I guess big exciting thing. It's not really the anniversary, the 20th anniversary news, but Bridget Smith, our first All-American, is actually being inducted into the College Hall of Fame
Oh,
this
Cool.
weekend.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
it's a lot of firsts, in the past 12 months. And, hopefully now that we've broken that barrier, hopefully we can continue to have success on the ice and our players will continue to get the recognition they deserve. And events like this coming weekend with the Hall of Fame, hopefully that won't be a stranger to our program anymore.
we've talked already about, what the goaltending outlook is for this year. And I know it's impossible, great to hear that Lexi's going to be back as the goaltending coach. I know Mac Hull is on the offensive side. I mean, that's going to be an incredibly difficult player to replace. But and arguably Mac Hull might be at this point like one of the greatest offensive forces in the history of the program.
Yeah.
But what is the outlook for the forwards, for the blue line? Like, how are things shaping up for this year's team?
Yeah, I mean, the nice part up front, especially down the middle,
Mhm.
we returned Erica Parenti and Meg Smith, who played down the middle in our top six last year, which is exciting. And both of them had really good summers, and they've looked like, I mean, they're playing like seniors right now, which is awesome because we get both of them for, well, Erica for 2 more years and Meg for 3 more years. So, that's a good problem to have. Biz Cooley, who was our conference rookie of the year, you know, she's another one. She's had a really good summer. She actually won the first leg of our fitness testing this morning, so the girls are all over her today. Um, and so I think there's a lot of players like that they played good, sizable roles last year, but they were always, behind the seniors as they should have been. Whereas now I feel like some of that group, they'll be able to kind of step into larger roles and then it won't all fall on the freshmen to have to replace them. Um, Katie Demers, is probably a player who she had some great moments last year and a lot of learning moments over the course of the year. And so far, I mean, she has looked outstanding in practice. And, her personality, her leadership ability, her communication skills, it's been a lot of fun, to watch her development. And I think she's one of those players that, she's probably a better upperclassman than she is a freshman. And so now that she has a little bit more of that time under her belt, it's nice that our sophomore class, I feel like, is really prepared mentally, to step in, as leaders, when they're called on. So Katie, I think, is poised to have a nice year. I'm really excited to see what she can do. She paid her dues last year, did everything that we asked her to do in the off season. I'm really looking forward to see, what that looks like. Britt Iverson, you hope that she had a really hot start to last year. And as the year went on, I think just the weight of the season and everything, it's hard. It's hard on all of them when they're experiencing it for the first time here. And so, I think she's another player though that, she had a good summer. She's looked really good in practice, and we're excited to see, hopefully her step into a bit of a larger role this year too.
Speaking of roster construct, do you ever have any walk-ons that want to try out for the team at all, or has that been historically a thing that's occurred?
It it hasn't really been too much of a thing. I think just the growth of club hockey has actually helped because there's been a lot of those players over the years that have come through that they're good players. But right now when recruiting's going as well as it is, there's no extra room and there's no extra spots in the locker room. And we don't want to be one of those teams that just has extra players just to have extra players. We want people to be able to have ownership in what we're doing, and in order for that to happen, people have to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel that, their contributions will have an opportunity to be seen. And so I think with club hockey growing, that's really become a pretty attractive option for a lot of players to come in that want to have more of just the school focus. Um, where practice schedules are different. There's not the extra demands of the weight room and in everything. Everything's self-motivated at that level, right? So I think that's kind of helped some of those walk-on things just not ever materialize, I guess.
Have you have you ever seen one of the girls playing club hockey and been like, we could really use her on the team on the team?
We there's actually one of the players, I think she graduated last year. I think there was a lot of Division 3 programs that were trying to get her to go there and play. At the time, we didn't have room, but it's pretty good hockey. Like there's good players there, and I think now that club hockey is getting more and more recognition, I think they're starting to get more and more of those players that before their high school years would end, and so would their hockey career. And now it's like, no, there's a way that I can continue to play, still be on the ice, still be involved in the game, and go to the school that I want to go to, regardless of NCAA hockey. And so I think our school in general has really benefited from that.
So you mentioned you have one senior, and according to my calculations, you have six juniors on your team. Um, who's going to serve as the leaders of this team? Who's going to be the captain, assistant captains of the team?
Yeah, right now we only have a captain.
Okay.
That was one thing coming out of last year. Our our freshman class, you're a freshman, you're just figuring it out. So it's not expected that you have much of a voice in the room when you have 12 seniors. And so Helen Van Dam, as a sophomore last year, she served as an assistant captain. So in the spring, we named her our team captain. And Helen is one of the best people you'll ever meet in your life. Like just excellent head on her shoulders, very socially intelligent, very emotionally intelligent, a good player, which helps. Um, and so far, her ability to get our team connected has been just really, really exciting to watch. Like she's going to have an amazing career in the business world once she graduates because of her ability to connect people. Like she's just a special, special person when it comes to all that. And we're, especially given the timing, we're really, really lucky, to have her in this position right now. And as much as it would be nice to have a surrounding cast for her, it's not appropriate to name captains when people haven't been given an opportunity to show what they can or can't do. And so what we've been doing is just, over the summer, and just letting them kind of get comfortable in what kind of the new team construct is. And then now that we've been back, we've had a couple leadership days. We've had 4 on ice practices, which gives us an opportunity to actually watch and evaluate, some of the leadership stuff, and not necessarily who's the rah-rah people, at the beginning of practice, but who are the people that are, actually motivating and, leading by example when it gets hard. And that's when you need leadership to come in. as Coach Gozick says all the time, anybody can be a good leader when it's 70 degrees and sunny. And so we've been trying to create that environment where it's challenging and we want things to be difficult and we want it to be hard. And if you can combine difficult and educational, now you can have the best of both worlds. And I think that's one thing that we've been trying to kind of let grow organically is just, what our leadership group is going to look like. And hopefully by the time we put the jerseys on, we'll have an answer for that. But fortunately, we've got a good group. Like they're just a good group of kids. They like each other. They're cheering for each other all the time. And I would say more than anything, they've been a really easy group to lead, which when you only have one captain, thank God they've been that way. But I think even in years like that, you still have to have a supporting cast for your captain so that too much doesn't fall, squarely on her shoulders.
What is what is your process for naming the captain? Is it the coaches just getting around and talking who you guys feel is best suited, or do you even talk to the girls at all?
Yeah, we probably a combination of both. I think we don't do voting or any of that stuff. At the end of the year, like when we do our exit meetings with players, we ask, and then the coaching staff kind of takes the nominations, thinks through it. And for us, like we understand what the new players are like as well. And so kind of having that information, it's different than what they see because we don't need a captain for last year's team. We need a captain for this year's team. And every year it's a little bit different. Sometimes you need somebody who's a little bit louder, a little bit more aggressive, maybe just that kind of leader. Some years you just need somebody that's just a sweet person that the players want to listen to, that's good at bringing people together. Some years you need an excellent communicator. And I think as you start to learn more about what your team needs, you can identify who the proper leadership group is. And I think that's one thing we've really been deliberate about so far this year is after each practice, not just doing like a debrief on, the drills and holding ourselves accountable with making sure we're doing the right things, but trying to evaluate like what were the leadership behaviors that we saw today and what are the leadership behaviors that we want to see in this situation and trying to talk through that with all of the players, whether they're in a leadership position this year or, next year, the following year, whatever, but just trying to be intentional with our leadership development so that we don't end up in a situation in any year where you don't have a choice, right? You want to make sure that you're having years like this year where you could just throw a dart and like, yep, that's who we're going to have as an assistant captain because they're capable, that they have the right intentions first and foremost, the right personality and the right intelligence to be able to handle that.
And how important is it for the coaching staff to be supportive, of these leaders? Because we all make mistakes. They're going to make mistakes, and you know that. But so how do you craft a response to times when those mistakes do happen?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. I wish I had a perfect answer, but you know, again, going back to Coach Gozick, something he and I would talk about all the time was you've got to learn like year to year what worked and what worked differently than it did the year before, or what didn't work for a different thing than it did the year before. And I think for when you're having those conversations, if you're not trying to, learn and adapt, like for myself, you don't have 20 years of experience. You have 1 year of experience 20 times. And we're trying to put ourselves in a position where we actually have, the 20 years of experience that I can bring to the table from a leadership development standpoint and talking through things, but also
Mhm.
trying to understand like they see it from a different view than I have. And so a lot of times it's really genuinely taking in what it is that they're seeing and what they're feeling on a situation, and then just trying to dissect it and say, okay, what is the heart of this issue? And if let's go right there. And I think with a lot of the conversations that we have and the off ice development, team development type stuff that we
Mhm.
do, it's all about like interpersonal communication. It's all about listening to each other. Nonverbal communication is a big one for us. Like they were laughing at me a couple weeks ago because I brought all my son's Legos in, and they had a big team activity where they had to see who could build these Lego structures, but none of them could talk. And they each had a different job to do. I'm sure you've probably seen different team builder type things like this. But when you've got a group of, 25 college athletes playing with Legos very competitively, but they can't say a word, it was highly entertaining. And it's probably the longest I've ever seen this group go without screaming and yelling and just cheering and everything. So, um, it's been nice to try to put the pieces together that way and give them lessons through hockey that will allow them to be successful once they graduate, right? Whether they're a captain or not, the most successful people are typically the best communicators. And so if we can arm our players with an understanding of how do you need to communicate, in a lot of different situations, hopefully that's helping them once they graduate and move on and, are becoming parents and, wives and everything that they'll go through in their life. And hopefully these are all little things that they can take with them after they graduate.
So, as a off of kind of Kevin's question a little bit, as someone who played the game and now coaching the game, have you ever seen like a captain, as you're coaching, kind of say something to one of the other players, and you're like, what is she like? How is she? What is she talking about? Like, how is she getting through to them? Like, what kind of like, how is she? How are these girls going to respond to her? If you don't like maybe understand what she's talking about per se, do you think like the girls just understand certain things better from her than you may at a certain time or off of what
Uh,
she's saying?
I think in a way, yes. But fortunately, I think the relationships that we build with our players, they're extremely open with us, and we are with them too. And we share a lot with our players, especially our older players. And the more of that dialogue that we have, I don't say it helps keep me young because by the gray hairs that I'm getting, I'm certainly not there anymore. But it's at least helped me understand the language that we need to be using. And sometimes there's things that are said in a manner that I wouldn't necessarily say it, but you can watch, and especially as players, like when they're in the locker room, when they're in the weight room, when they're at dinner with each other every single day, like their communication with each other is different. And so, me as a coach, I have to try to learn their language a little bit and then understand, like, okay, where do I really need to insert myself? But if we can talk with them enough and teach them enough about how to communicate with each other, how to listen to each other the right way, especially for your captains, I think we've really equipped them uh, with the information they need to act in a way that we would be in alignment with, regardless of how they say it. And I think that's been the nice part. Like we've had some much different personalities with our captains lately. Um, going back, Kate Randazzo was the captain when I first got here, and her and Helen are actually very, very similar, which is fun when you can kind of look back over the years and just kind of look at the different personalities that have come through. But Fee Taggart was the complete opposite. Like she was just like, here's how it is. I'm going to tell you, like, this is straight up. This is what I'm thinking. Whether you like it or not, you need to hear it. And then you get like a Taylor Hooden that comes in who's, a very successful mental health counselor now. And she probably started a lot of that when she was here as a captain, just her ability to talk to people and listen to people
Mm.
and then take what she was hearing and, be able to provide people with feedback that was direct but empathetic. And I think those are really key attributes that you're always looking for out of your captains is can they meet the younger players where they are, not demand that they come up and everybody's not going to be a senior who handles things this way. And especially like this year when, it's we have more players that are underage to buy, cigarettes than we have players that are of age to buy alcohol, which is just the craziest thing I've ever seen on a college hockey roster. Um, and I think it just creates a much different dynamic when you're trying to learn how to communicate with the athletes that we deal with on a daily basis.
So, Coach, you've spoken a lot about the importance of listening to each other and adapting to what each other has provided in terms of feedback and what have you. But in terms of your like your on ice strategies, Do you adapt them to the pool of talent that you have at that time, or is it like you have to get them to implement your system that you kind of maintain through the years?
Yeah, I'd say that's probably something that's adapted over the years. When I
Mhm.
first got here, um, we kind of coached to what we had, and that was as years went by and we were able to bring more of the players in that we had recruited to play a certain style. We kind of kept bending towards where we want to be now. And, now that we've come through a full cycle, of recruiting, now it's really everything's based on recruiting the players that fit the way we want to play, recruiting players that act the way that we want to act, and they communicate the way we want to communicate. Our trainer was even commenting today of how loud our players are. They're loud. I mean, it's a lot some days, but it's really fun. I'll give them that. They're full of energy, and it's infectious, right? You want to be around people like that get involved. And every year when you see these, excited young players come in, if that excitement gets absorbed by the upperclassmen, then you hope their experience gets absorbed by the younger kids too.
Mhm.
And I think that's been a big part of what we've done, where not just have we been able to try to identify and recruit the players that fit our style on the ice, but players that fit our culture off the ice, and players that really want to be part of what it is that we are. Because, on the ice, we'll adapt what we need to adapt around what we have. But we are who we are off the ice, and if that's not, as we tell recruits, if it's not you, that's okay, but this just isn't the right place, and that's something that I think we're really protective of. And now that, again, we're just that fifth year deep in recruiting,
Mhm.
um, it's nice to see it kind of coming full circle for us.
So what is that on ice style? What do you look for out of players?
Yeah, it's funny. So I was just on a recruiting call before I got on with you guys, and that's like one of the questions we get all the time from recruits, like, "Oh, what's your playing style like, or what kind of players do you like to recruit?" And the first thing that we always talk about is we want the most competitive people,
Mhm.
and I think those are people that over the grind of the college season, they really thrive in the environment that we have, and um, obviously academics are important. You need players who are good in the classroom for a number of reasons, but it's great to get players who are able to fully commit both academically and to hockey. And so when you can go out and you watch a player play an 8 a.m. game on a Saturday morning after she played a 6 o'clock game the night before, and she's like looks like she'd run through the wall to block a shot, or pounding on the boards when her teammate blocks a shot, or is doing everything she can just to get a puck over the blue line. Those are the little plays, that really help create the players that we're looking for. Then once you find that, now you've got to look for what are we graduating and what piece do we need? Like
Mhm.
you can't bring in a goal scorer every year. As great as that would be, there's only one puck, right? Somebody's got to be able to get pucks to the goal scorers. And so trying to find a way, once you have the recipe that you want, you want to bring in what you graduate. Now this year, graduate 9 forwards, you need a little everything. So that made that a little easier. But the constants for us are always, are you the most competitive person on your team? And that's why, like, we're 80 minutes into practice today, and they're all still hooting and hollering about this goofy little game that we're playing. And every time somebody blocked a shot, or made a nice pass, or scored a goal, or the goalie's made a big save, they erupt every time it happens. But when you have competitive people, those are natural behaviors. And those are behaviors, I think, that help reinforce the energy that it takes to, when you get into that third period and you've got to find a way to get 2 goals to tie a game against Plattsburgh, or when you get into that high pressure environment when you're on the road at Norwich, right early in the year, you need competitive people, because
Mhm.
when they'll fall back on how did they train, how did they prepare, and I think by getting competitive people, they've prepared themselves the right way.
So how well can you tell, from a recruiting call, or can you tell from a recruiting call, like how well someone might fit in?
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny. We spend a lot of time on the road, especially in the summer. Like, the running joke in our family is that, when I worked on the men's side of the game, as soon as graduation hit, we had like 3 months where it was very quiet. We'd work hockey camp here in the community and stuff, and it was great. But summers were what you'd expect from a hockey coach. On our side of the game, that's a complete fallacy. Like as soon as the graduation happens, we're on the road almost every weekend, and watching games. This summer alone, I'm trying to think all the places between Grace and myself. Florida, Calgary, Michigan, Vegas of all places. Grace got to do that one somehow. I don't know how I fell for that one, but and then we've been all over the Northeast, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. Like every weekend you're somewhere else and you're trying to find players and you try to watch players over and over and over again. And especially when you're at camps, and you're able to work hands-on with players, and then you're seeing them as they start to get a little bit more tired over the week, and you really start to learn a lot about the way that they conduct themselves when you watch that much hockey. And they're young, so you've got to kind of project out where are they going to be. I mean, some of them are, they're 16 years old when you start the recruiting process. So they've got a lot of growing up to do. And so you can learn a lot about them through conversations, through talking with their families and talking with their coaches. Um, and probably I would say the most exciting point of recruiting that we're at now, it was something I hate to just keep going back to Coach Gozick, but like those were transformative years for me getting to work with him. Like I love the guy to death. And one of the things he would talk about all the time was you want our players to be recruiting their friends. Because typically good players are friends with other good players. It's just amazing how that works. But when you have good people, they only want to be around great people. And now we're at a point where, especially our younger players, because they're still of age where they would have played with players who are juniors and seniors in high school. We're constantly getting messages like, hey, my friend's going to be here. You should go and watch her. Or, hey, this is my friend. She's going to reach out to you. And it's nice because then when you're recruiting a player, you don't really have to sell them on the program.
Yeah.
You just give them like, this is who we are. Take it or leave it. Like, this is just us. If you want to know what the day to day is like, talk to your friends. They'll tell you, when the dorm's too hot, they'll tell you that the chicken was overcooked in the dining hall. They'll tell you that I was having a meltdown at practice one day. Like they'll give you the whole scoop, which is it's really rewarding as a coach to know that our players have enjoyed the process that we have so much that they want their friends to come here and they want their friends to get a chance to experience what it is that we're doing. And it's just another sign that we're headed in the right direction. And as year over year we keep going, we just want to keep finding a way to chip away and get a little bit better in this area, get a little bit better in that area, and hopefully that results in some trophies at some point here.
Coming up, I think October 18th, Oswego will host St. John Fisher in an exhibitions for the men and the women, which will likely be their first ever games. A brand new, spanking new program. What's that like to be part of history like that?
It's awesome, especially
Yeah.
like I mean, one selfishly, we're really lucky with them adding a program. Um, just with travel and getting schedules against good teams, it's getting harder and harder, to piece all of that together. And so to get a team like St. John Fisher, who, they've got a good school, Coach McDonald that's there, he's been around women's hockey forever, and he's going to do a really good job. I mean, they're going to be good this year. Like some of the players that they brought in, both transfers and freshmen, are really, really good players. So they're not going to be your typical first year, program. And he's going to get it going there really quickly. And so to have them, we have them for an exhibition game this year. And then the following year, we have them for two regular non-conference games.
Mm.
And that'll be consistent from here on out that, to be able to have another good opponent. So like with Utica and Hamilton and, getting some of those other non-conference games that are local, that are also, top 15, top 20 games, those are home runs for us.
And watch this segue. Speaking of St. John Fisher, there was a former quarterback there by the name of Kurt Fitzpatrick, and I believe you two have a history. You were both in Fulton for a while. He's now a head coach. I know we spoke about this last time, or you maybe a couple of times you were on with us. He was the head coach at SUNY Cortland football, which went on to the national title. He's now moved on to Colgate. He's now the head coach there at Colgate. So, like, what has have you offered him any words of encouragement there, or what would you offer as he starts his
I don't
first
know.
year there?
He'll get it going there. You know,
Yeah.
I think everywhere he's been, he's won. And I think that just comes back to his personality. And, you know, he's the perfect reflection of his parents. Like they're just great people. Um, and his brother's the same way. I actually just saw his brother the other day. Because he still lives, I think his brother lives in Fulton still, but works here in Oswego, has an office in Fulton, you know, and so
Mm.
yeah, we still see each other from time to time, but you know, I haven't seen Kurt and it's been a minute since I've seen him, but you know, I pretty confident that he's going to get it going there.
Yeah.
You know, just a really good recruiter. Again, coming back to personality, he's just a good guy, and I think he's somebody that, you know, good coaches want to be around. And good players want to be around people like that are able to teach them, but also treat them the right way. And you know, it's been awesome following his career and everything that he's done. It's nice to see another Fulton guy going on and doing big things like that.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for being with us, and really best of luck on what should be another outstanding season. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you for having me on and you know, for always supporting the women's hockey team here. We appreciate it.
And that was the head coach of the SUNY Oswego women's ice hockey team, Mark Digby. Historic season last year. It'll be interesting to see, that's a high bar right there last year. So it'll be interesting to see how they do this season.
Yeah, I mean, but there's a huge changeover in roster as well.
Right,
So
right.
you you would expect, you know, you're not going to get to where you were last year, right? But it
Yeah.
sounds like they're going to be in the mix, though. I mean,
Oh
it's still a
yeah.
pretty good team, you
Yes.
know.
I mean, they're returning a lot of players
Mhm.
overall, right? They had obviously a lot of girls leave from that graduated, but they had so many sophomores or
Mhm.
juniors. Well, really only not many juniors last year, but a lot of
Mhm.
sophomores last year that are now juniors that, you know, or freshmen that are now sophomores that they're still returning so many girls that even though they did bring in 12 new players,
Mhm.
hopefully they mesh well and they can still continue with what they
Yep.
did last year off of
And
last
it,
year.
and it
Might be a
sounds
little
like an
difficult,
exciting
but
group too,
yeah.
Yeah.
right? I mean, it sounds like they're riled up and ready to go. So a
Mhm.
fun bunch, it seems.
Yeah.
It's just tough when you lose, basically the best player in program history,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
That's
but
tough for
Right.
any program,
yeah,
right? I mean,
Right.
that's
At some point down the road, there'll be another greatest player in
right.
sure.
program history. So the phrase that came to me was you are who you hang out with. So when you have a great player, they're gonna likely to hang out with other great players.
Yeah,
So it's great to see that basically it's organic recruiting. Like coach doesn't have to go out. He still does, of course. He still does need to do that recruiting, but so many players now are kind of doing it for them through
Sure.
their friends
hmm
that it just kind of builds upon itself.
And that, not only that, but that's like the ultimate competition too, right? Because
Mm,
you want to beat out that next best person too. Like you
yeah.
want to be better than them. So it's like they're pushing each other,
Hmm.
you know, and that's awesome. That's great for a team as long as it's healthy. That's really
Yeah.
good for a team.
And that's what it seems like. They're
Yeah,
really supportive of each other. There's no, it's competitive, yes, but they're also there for each other, and
yep,
that's huge.
agreed. Yep,
yeah. It's I think it's great that I love that he said that they're just all so cohesive,
Hmm.
that and they're always rooting for each other and everything like that. That just it seems like he's building such a good culture there,
yeah,
or he's built
yeah,
a really good
yep,
culture there. Like he mentioned to us, off the air about, bringing in friends and to play and
Hmm.
stuff like that, which is, pretty cool.
So I think if you're listening to us and you are a Lakers hockey fan and you've been to some men's games in the past, I think you should really check out the women's game because They're going to be digging in the corners. They're going to be doing the grunt work, blocking the shots. They're going to be doing what a good hockey team should do.
Yep.
And so I think it'll be well worth your time, to check out a women's game, a doubleheader, check out the women and hang out, and then the men will be in later. So it's a great afternoon of hockey if you have the chance to do that. So highly recommend.
I like the
go to
goals
the
and
exhibition games.
Go to yes, go to that, and also I like the goals and the celebrations. So
I'm not gonna lie. I'll fully admit it. Granted, we didn't have a women's team when we were there. So I have not been to a women's game because I haven't really been up to a hockey game in a long time. So I haven't had a chance to see the women play. But like I said, I told Coach I'm going to Manhattanville, in January. That's for sure. I can guarantee it. At least one game. So see if any downstaters want to come with me.
There you go.
Wasn't the last game you went to was with us and you yelled at Steve Levy? Was that the last time you came up to a hockey game?
Did I yell at Steve Levy?
You yelled while Steve Levy was being honored, I think.
Did I?
Yeah, I think so.
What did I say?
I can't repeat it.
Something bad?
It wasn't great.
Really?
I mean,
I don't remember that. I remember being there. I don't remember. Yeah,
it wasn't like foul language or anything like that. It was just very rude.
Was it? That sounds like me though. Could be. It's not out of the realm possibility that I did that. Whatever it was.
Well, it's been a good long while since the three of us were at a Laker hockey game together.
That's true.
So that's going to have to happen.
So the 25th, like we'll be up there for the comm dinner and the festivities for that weekend. Man, we might be able to sneak in at 3:00 to get a little bit of the game, maybe.
I don't know. We can try it. We can see what happens. We can see what happens. I don't know. Yeah. Did the men have a game that day? The men play at 7 that night, right? So we can try.
Think, we'll get some dinner, at the CMA dinner now, right? And then we'll just sneak off. We'll just sneak off to the rink. Why not?
Exactly.
If only we could bring a beer in.
I know. Well,
unfortunately,
can't have everything.
Whatever. It is what it is.
All right. Well, it's too soon to talk baseball. Maybe winter.
Something happened? I don't know.
Let's wait a little bit.
No, let's wait a little bit.
Still a little stingy, isn't it?
I'm telling you right now, if I start talking about it, I'm going to go on a rant. I'm going to go on a rant.
No.
And it's just not going to go
we can't do that. Listen, I can speak for the group. Because I am the least invested and the least emotional about the Mets. I was mad. All right. Yeah. I was like, you've got to be bleeping kidding me with what's going on with this team right now.
I had to be the adult in the room yesterday, if you can believe that, when my son broke down in tears, kicking and screaming that the Mets lost the game.
That poor kid.
Prior to the game being over, we keep warning him. We're like, they're gonna lose this game. He's like, no, they're not. No, they're not. And he's like, we're like, if they lose, you can't get upset. He's like, I'm not gonna get upset. Lindor grounds into a double play.
Oh,
boom! And it's like a switch just flipped, and tears. And I sent you guys the video, tears and kicking and screaming. And I had to console him. It was brutal.
It was the perfect way to end the season. Like that was the perfect way to end that game and this season. Like they deserve that. They deserved how to lose like that.
I don't disagree with you. The only way that could have been worse is getting doubled off, like a line drive and doubled off,
right?
Instead of a ground ball double play.
Anyways.
But yeah.
I know it's hard. Liverpool can't win every game, and I get it.
I know.
It's tough.
I know it pisses me off when Liverpool loses.
Darn Liverpool, darn them.
Those Liverpoolians.
That'll do it for this edition of the Throwing Bagels podcast. Throwingbagels.com is our email address. No, it's not. It's our website.
It's our website.
Our website.
Is that worse than mine? Than my two ads?
I am exhausted.
I don't know.
I am exhausted. Throwing Bagels Podcast at gmail.com is our email address. There you go. And then all of the social stuff is online.
It's on the website, which is what, Kevin?
Throwingbagels.com, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
There you go.
And you know what? we're going to have a special edition podcast coming up next week.
Exciting.
So
very excited.
We're dropping that now. That is a gift to you for making it this far in the podcast. And you'll want to, because we'll have a big announcement in the next podcast.
You're going to want to listen to it. That's for sure.
You're going to want to be there.
I don't even know what it is.
You do.
Well, you'll have to stay tuned and listen also.
Oh, yeah. I guess I got to come back and check it out.
I guess, Chris, you'll have to tune in.
I will.
You'll have to show up next week and speak to this mystery person.
I will. And I'll guess I'll have questions.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
We did mention on the last podcast that
we did
that our guest would be Dana Murphy. But we have our own special announcement.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't even know
involving
what that is.
I don't, you know what? You're right. I don't know either.
I can't wait.
So I can't wait either. So we'll all find out together on the next edition of the Throwing Bagels podcast. Jason,
Evan,
Chris,
gentlemen,
good night.
Sayonara.